Welcome to our show, Unlearning, with me, Skhumbuzo Jwara, where each week we discuss a social issue through the lens of a book I've read. Our aim is not to give a blow-by-blow, chapter-by-chapter review of the books we've read. There are many other channels that do that, and perhaps they could do it even better than we could. Instead, what we do is explore social issues that affect us daily, using the books we read as a way to think about them critically and introduce a level of empathy to the conversation that is otherwise missing in today's popular culture. Today, we'll be reviewing two books: The Meritocracy Trap by Daniel Markowits, which explores three main ideas about meritocracy. The first, that meritocracy excludes most of society from meaningful access to advantage, not because it doesn't work, but rather because it is working as it was designed to. The second, that meritocracy burdens even those who seem to succeed with the weight of having to distort themselves to live up to its demands for exclusivity and worth within the system, and that this causes individuals harm. The third idea is that overall, it does this by focusing our attention as society entirely on things that are shallow and not worthy, such as credentials, comparative wealth, luxury, and status, rather than the human excellences we should instead collectively aspire to achieve. The second book is The Tyranny of Merit by Sandel, which takes a look at the reasons behind our divisions as society between what he describes as the winners and losers of the modern system of politics we now live in. Sandel argues that although the divide and antagonism between the losers of our economy, who are poor and lower middle class, and the winners, who are the wealthy elites and upper and middle emerging class, is not only as a consequence of inequality, but because of our attitudes towards winning and losing that come with it. The crux of his book is that these attitudes result in the idea amongst the winners that their success was their own doing and a measure of their merit and hard work, and that those who lose and do not succeed in society have no one to blame but themselves. Daniel Markowits begins his book, The Meritocracy Trap, with what is a bold statement in a modern society ingrained with the idea that if you work hard, you will be rewarded or succeed. He begins by stating that merit is a sham. The statement is bold because the ideals of meritocracy are so rooted in modern democracies that they are preached by those we admire and who are seen as successful. Without question, because the idea that hard work equals success and reward is accepted as a self-evident truism. But is it? We must first begin by asking, what is meritocracy? Simply, it is the idea that social and economic rewards should track achievements. It is hard to find anyone who would rationally disagree with its fundamental idea that you work hard and you achieve, so you are deserving of the rewards, whether they be wealth, fame, or social status. Meritocracy has been the accepted ideal, partly because it is rooted in a pushback against aristocracy, which was simply a system of government wherein which wealth, status, and reward were afforded to those born into it, no matter how lazy or untalented they were. And of course, that meant the same for hardworking and talented individuals who were born poor. They would remain under those conditions no matter their efforts. Meritocracy promised to open up opportunity and promote equality to everyone, even if you are poor, as long as you have talent and ambition and are willing to work hard. It also promises that through this, more harmony will be created in society as a consequence of wealth and status being achieved through earning it. So why then suggest that meritocracy is a sham, as a growing chorus of policymakers, intellectuals, and civil society organizations are now saying? Their contention is that it no longer operates as promised, but rather that it is harmful to both the middle and working class adults, as well as the elite who supposedly benefit from it. To the poor, middle, and working class, it promises upward mobility, that you can improve your economic standing as long as you play by the rules and you will succeed. As a result, however, if you do not, then it places the blame for failure squarely on any individual who doesn't succeed in a competition for income and mobility, even when they do play by the rules. And this idea that it is your fault alone that you didn't succeed when the meritocratic system is to your benefit leads to views like this one.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
That's so true.
I'm like, I gotta hustle. So
but
I
I
can
think
be back
also
in this room
because you see everything on social media and you think, oh, it's just a lifestyle, or oh, it's like really quick and easy and you can just post something, and it's not easy.
The irony of the sentiment expressed in that video is, as Markowits explains, is that meritocracy is harmful to the elite and the wealthy too. Parents of the elite, for example, are forced to invest exorbitant sums of money into their children's futures so as to maintain their status. Jobs acquired through meritocratic standards demand an unhealthy level of grinding intensity and ruthlessness in order to get returns on your investment. All of this, and it is little wonder that there are increased levels of mental health issues amongst those who are burdened with living up to the meritocratic ideal. Even more concerning is the divide between the working and emerging middle class and the elite and upper middle class, which drives resentment amongst those Sandel describes as the losers within the meritocratic system, and a sense of superiority amongst those who have succeeded, breeding disrespect and dysfunction between the classes. The natural response by those who defend meritocracy is that it leaves success or failure up to the individual, and it is the individual's own fault that they do not make it. However, it is economic and social structures that are the bigger determinants of success and not individual vice, as popular modern economists like Thomas Piketty have pointed out, particularly in his book, Capital and Ideology. Otherwise, we live in a world where the poor can be labeled as lazy and all those who are wealthy described as hardworking. Both Markowits and Sandel in their books have argued that meritocracy is a false idol that has now become the very thing it was invented to combat. That is, a mechanism for the concentration and transferring of wealth amongst a privileged few and between generations of their families. The unemployment statistics in South Africa present a more grim view of the meritocratic lie, sitting at 35.3%, which rises to 46.2% if we include the expanded definition of unemployment, which counts people who have given up on looking for a job, and a staggering unemployment rate of 65.5% amongst the youth, which also includes a 12.5% unemployment rate amongst graduates. The unemployment rate in South Africa is both tragic and alarming. Parents across university campuses celebrate the prospect of their children finding meaningful employment because that is the promise of enduring the financial and mental cost of a university degree. But we know that university graduates, particularly from poor families and amongst the emerging middle class, don't in fact always find meaningful employment and are left to bear the shame while being left in limbo for years. I was thinking about the UKZN student Dumisani Ngobese, who shared his tragic life story and was recently offered permanent employment and funding from a Good Samaritan as a result. Being amongst those who aspire towards success in this country is such an undignified existence. He did everything he was supposed to do, but what eventually landed him a job that should have rightfully been his because he worked hard for it was eventually given to him because his personal story was so tragic that it garnered sympathy. If you work hard and achieve, you're supposed to get the job simply because you played by the rules, not because you had to have your personal circumstances displayed for all to see. I'm happy that he is sorted, but it shouldn't have had to take all of that to get a job and funding in the first place. If our system of work hard equals success lived up to its side of the deal. How many more are like him in this country, who have played by the rules and are languishing in poverty, wondering what else they could possibly do when what was promised to them turned out to be a lie? That's what the additional indignity of striving towards success in a meritocratic system requires. That you have to publicly display your pain and hope it touches the heart of a Good Samaritan, even when you've worked hard and played by the rules. The truth is that people seem to be succeeding despite the meritocratic system and not because of it. As tempting as it is to conclude with simplicity that I am not a policymaker and therefore have no need or responsibility to talk about possible solutions, it would be lazy and disingenuous because it doesn't take much in the form of original thought, since better minds have already put forward solutions and alternatives to the kind of meritocratic system we now hold. And moving towards solutions to the failings of meritocracy is imperative because economic inequality has transformed our politics. This has left opportunistic demagogues, those who would appeal to our prejudices and desires rather than to create real solutions, an opening to exploit the discontent by pandering to our fears. A valid concern amongst those who live in communities who fall on the underprivileged scale of the meritocratic divide results in those concerns about crime and unemployment being manipulated into xenophobic fear-mongering about foreigners who have come and stolen your jobs and opportunities and are responsible for all of the crime. This is as true of Trump America as it is of those in South Africa leading xenophobic organizations like Operation Dudula.
We're angry and we're here to take care of the foreigners. This is what these South Africans sing in Zulu as they march through Rustenburg. The protest is organized by a group called Operation Dudula. The group says it wants to rid South Africa of undocumented immigrants.
I am ready for any eventuality. Whether foreigners think that they're going to take South Africa and make South Africans second-class citizens in their own country, whether they do it by politics, whether they do it through bribery or corruption, or they do it by the gun, we are waiting as South Africans because we are conscious enough to now understand what they're doing to our country. And with or without our political leaders, we the people will take the country forward.
Which means are justified.
In any means possible to save my life and other South Africans' lives. Where government can't get to, where law enforcement can't get to, we meet them halfway.
At the Operation Dudula rally in Rustenburg, attendees continue to voice their frustration.
We are not going to tolerate illegal immigrants succeeding in life while we continue to be poor.
While their voices are loud, the attendance here shows that they don't represent all South Africans. Far fewer people came than anticipated.
Being a part of an organized movement under the banner of South Africans First may seem like a reasonable position to take, until we examine the true source of the failure to close the economic divide between the classes. and opportunistic demagogues understand and exploit this for their own political gain. Ours is to remain focused on sustainable solutions to both governance problems and those of the meritocratic system at hand. As both Daniel Markowits and Michael Sandel explain in their books, what is most dangerous about the belief that rewards and success are a consequence only of hard work is that it is held up as a value system where those who have made it accept and legitimize the status quo because, as they believe, if everyone else worked as hard as they do too, they would be able to escape from the conditions in which they live. Rather than repair the conditions from which people want to flee, we construct a politics that makes upward mobility the answer to inequality. But a functioning society cannot be built and premised only on the promise of escape. Rather, it should fix the conditions from which people seek to escape in the first place.